My name is Taylor Rowan, and this is Confident Risks. Last episode, we talked about confidence in the workplace. What does that mean to truly be confident? Not necessarily the most outgoing person or the person that's talking the loudest, but the person that knows the product. This week, we're going to talk about misunderstandings, the biggest confidence killer. Without further ado, let's get started. So last episode was confidence, knowing what you're talking about, not just listening to yourself talk, but truly knowing your product and understanding. That's what brings confidence to not only yourself, but to the workplace or to whatever it is that you're going to be doing, is understanding your product and understanding what you're talking about. The biggest killer to that, misunderstandings. And I'm going to take us down this road that many of you guys have been in. I love relating stories to other topics and to other things just so we can get a better grasp on that. And the grasp that we're going to take today is social acceptance, something that we all strive and long for, is having social acceptance. So we're going to take maybe, for example, your work. Maybe you're in the break room and you're the new person and everyone's just trying to feel you out, but you really long for that invite to hang out with a group maybe after hours, just so you can get a little bit more acquainted with everybody. But the day finally comes. You get asked from the group, hey, we're going out for drinks a little bit later on. You want to come with us? So, of course, you say yes, would love to come. You get yourself worked up about it. Maybe you invite your significant other with you. You're driving to the place. The heart's starting to beat a little bit. You don't want to be the weird person, so you're trying not to screw up. So you sit down at the table with everybody and everyone's conversating, having a great time. Maybe you start having a couple of drinks. You're getting a little bit loose and it comes to you finally, the conversation does. And they say, hey, Jolene, what do you think? And you just say something flat out stupid and everyone just stops and they're staring at you. And at that moment, you feel like you want to literally curl up in a ball in a ditch and die because you know that you have just screwed up royally. And in that royal screw up, you start fumbling your words. Maybe you start digging yourself deeper. A lot of you can relate to this. Now you start saying something and everyone's just looking, and now you're like, oh my God, please get the camera off me. Please get these people to stop looking at me. How do we change the topic? And then it's awkwardly going to a different conversation and you're just sitting in the corner with your hands in your face thinking to yourself, oh my God, I cannot believe that I screwed this up so royally. That is what's called misunderstanding. People don't know you yet. People don't know maybe the joke that you put out there, the thing that you said. It's a misunderstanding that happens. And you just let that completely kill your confidence. This happens all the time when it comes to new startup ideas or new ideas in the workplace. Let's say that you're a manager at a company and you're going to be managing the production line, or you're going to be managing inventory, or maybe you're starting a new company and you've got this idea in your head that you've been thinking about. You've got the confidence up, you've thought through it, and now it comes time for you to present this idea to some people. It's knowing your audience, because maybe you present this idea to your superior, or you're trying to just tell your idea to some friends maybe that you're with. And you've thought about this for so long, and then it gets shut down. The best example that I can think of this is, the time that maybe Uber or Airbnb first had their presentations of like their new idea. They've been thinking about it for a while, and let's say that it's Uber. And I can imagine them just being out with a group of friends and be like, yeah, we got this new idea. We're going to basically, instead of having a taxi service, you're going to be able to get in basically any car on this app, and then it takes you to a new location. And I can just imagine everyone sitting there being like, are you an idiot? We've been told since we were little not to get in the cars with strangers, and now you're telling me to get in this car with this stranger to drive somewhere? That sounds terrible. The problem with that scenario is that it was presented wrong, okay? Are you the educator in a conversation, or are you being educated? That's a question you have to ask yourself, because if you're an educator, someone who's presenting an idea, you have to be able to present that idea in a way that's going to be socially acceptable, let's say, or in a way that any generic person can understand it. And when I say generic person, what I mean is that new ideas don't happen very often. We're so used to social norms, like, okay, someone's going to start a restaurant. Oh, we get that. What's the atmosphere like? Is there a bar? Is there not? How are the tables set up? What's the environment like? That's something that we can relate to. When somebody brings up a new idea, like what Uber probably did originally, That is an idea that has to be explained in a way that people can understand. And sometimes that misunderstanding right off the bat can completely kill your confidence. All of you know what I'm talking about. You've all had that idea that's been completely shut down. Maybe it's your family member, maybe it's coworkers, whoever it is, your confidence has been completely killed. And I want to encourage everybody. The confidence comes when your presentation and your education on the topic is right. You have to make sure you know your audience in that situation. So we think back to the founders of Uber and how that first scenario was presented. Think about if it was presented more like this. You know how when you go downtown New York or Chicago and you see yellow cabs everywhere, you know and you're confident that if you flag down one of those cars or call one of those companies, that you're going to get to where you need to go. Why? Because the company has done their due diligence. They know that that driver, most of the time at least, is a good driver. They have a good background. You know, and you're confident that you can get in that car and you can get to where you need to go because that company's done their due diligence. We're going to do the same thing. We're going to have an app that will go through the background check, that will go through the driving history, that will validate these drivers so that when you go on this app, you know that the person that's picking you up has been validated. And since they've been validated, you feel more comfortable now to get into that vehicle. If that situation was just described like that instead of the first situation, you would have a lot more people who can relate and understand that setting instead of just, oh, you're going to get in the car with strangers. Two different ways of presenting, two different ways of understanding. But if you want to validate, if you want to be confident in what you're talking about, you can't be misunderstood. You have to make sure that the group that you're talking to is someone that's going to actually understand and be able to relate to the topic that you're talking about. Because if not, that's going to be the biggest confidence killer you have, especially those that are so close to you, family members or other people. When they shut that idea down, it's one that if I had to guess a statistic, and this isn't a statistic that I know is true, I would have to guess that shuts down almost 90% of people. Is they have an idea, they present it to those that are around them, the ones they trust, and it totally shoots them down. So if I'm the educator in a topic or something that I feel confident about or something I want to start, you have to make sure that when that idea is presented, if you're talking to other people about it, it has to be in a way that people can relate to. Second scenario I'm going to talk about is listening or being educated and what the difference is. I'm going to give you guys an example of this real quick. When I started my business, I was driving to the coast on my very first delivery that I did. And I drove to the coast. I picked up a container. I talked about being in a truck and a 20-foot trailer. I was bringing one single 20-foot container back, which for me, growing up, my dad had a boat rental business. So I was always pulling trailers. I was putting boats in the water. I was taking boats out of the water. I was constantly pulling trailer. And these trailers were anywhere from 25 to 30 feet. And I say that because the first pickup I did was with a 25-foot trailer. I went to the coast, I picked it up, I drove it back, and I snatched it off the trailer with the tree. Basically, I hooked up that container to the tree as I talked about, pulled it off. The second delivery that I did was completely different. And I say that because I'm pretty fast moving. I want to get things going pretty quickly. So after I did it one time, I was like, okay, this is something that I can do. So I actually sold the half-ton pickup truck that I had at the time, bought a little bit older vehicle, as we talked about, and put my money into that, and then also a 40-foot trailer. So now that I could go to the coast and pick up two 20-foot containers at a time and then have two deliveries, increase my margins, which on paper looked great. But one thing that I didn't think about is that, yes, I'm picking up containers and delivering them to people, but at the same time, I'm really starting a transportation business. I had thought through the process of, okay, here's how I'm getting containers back. Here's the delivery. Here's the margins. But the second I changed it and went to a 40-foot trailer, which also has a gooseneck on the front. For those of you who don't know, it's a attachment that goes into the bed of the truck instead of on the hitch of the truck. Well, that extension off the front, the front extension of the trailer is almost 9 feet. So you're driving a 49-foot trailer. A semi-trailer is 53 feet long. So you're essentially driving a semi-truck and trailer, which is completely different. Your off-tracking is different. You're going around a corner, and for those of you who know off-tracking, your truck's taking one route, and then your trailer has a pivot point that's much further back, so it's taking a much sharper angle on that turn. And those are all things that I'm figuring out, luckily not in a bad way. Quick side story on that was when I was driving there on that second trip, I was using a GPS for the everyday driver for, vehicles, just like any of us would do. You jump on your phone, you put an address in, and now Google Maps is taking, or Apple Maps is taking you to your location. Well, it's thinking about you being in a vehicle, an actual car, or maybe it's sometimes a pickup truck, but it's not thinking about a semi driver going downtown Seattle. So I'm driving there, and I remember I was going downtown, and it's getting tighter and tighter and tighter, and I finally get to this 4-way intersection, and I couldn't do anything. I was completely stuck. I mean, there's hybrids going down this road, and pickup trucks look huge, and I'm in this semi-sized trailer and truck, and I get completely stuck. I actually have to pull out into the middle of an intersection in the green light and just stop and wait for all the traffic to just completely back up, where people have to start moving backwards for me to get around it. It was about a 5-minute ordeal, but that's a side story. Long story short, I get the 2 containers picked up, and I'm driving back, and I'm thinking through the delivery process that I have to do. And I'm driving back, and I'm new to driving this big of a rig. And I can remember I pick up my brother to go help me on this delivery because it's getting a little bit later. And I show up, and sure enough, the guy I'm delivering to was a semi-truck driver. I mean, he's got his rig sitting right out front of his house. And he looks at me and he goes, "You sure you're going to be able to get that up that hill?" And I think to myself, what's your suggestion here? Should I be able to do this? Should I not? And he goes, "Let's take the pickup truck and drive up the road and take a look." So we're driving up this mountainside road, 1 lane, and I'm driving up this thing, and he's telling me, "Man, I really think you should think twice about doing this. I don't think that this is the right move." And of course, my overly confident self was like, "Oh, I can do this." My arrogance, if you will, I was like, "Oh, I can do this, no problem." So we get about halfway up, and he goes, "Okay, you sure you can do this? You want to keep going?" Like, No, we're good. Let's turn around and go back. So I go back, and we start going up this hill. Well, we're going up this hill. We're about a mile in. It was a long trek up there. We're about a mile in, and it's getting tighter and tighter. And I'm starting to look, and there are 0 places to turn around. I mean, I could barely get my truck through and around corners with a 10,000-pound load on this truck, and we're going up the side of this hill. And I started thinking to myself, like, "Oh, crap, what did I get myself into?" And just when I think it could get any worse, we come around a turn, and there's a man-made bridge. It's a bridge made out of railroad ties and 2x6s that I have to go across. And right after that bridge is a turn. So I take my truck across this, which I didn't even know if it could support. Again, just stupidity on myself. Go across it. I start going back up the hill. My trailer's starting to off track. The 2 outside trailer tires, I'm on a tandem axle dually, which means I have 2 axles and then 2 tires on each side. So I have a total of 8 tires on this trailer. The outside tires on both sides start going off because it's basically the bridge is a 2-lane bridge with nothing in the middle. Tires are going off, and finally gets to the point where I'm like, I have to go full send on this. So I just gun it. Tires kind of go off the side. Trailer almost tips over, and I end up going up the hill, and I made it. Go up the hill, and I get to the very top where the delivery was, and I couldn't turn my trailer around. And I'm sitting there thinking to myself, like, not only did I have trouble coming up this hill, but now I'm going to have to back all the way down this 2+ miles with this 40-foot trailer. So the 2 hours it took me to get up there and unload, it almost took us 4 hours to go back down the opposite directions. And there were hiccups in that, and backing back over that bridge, and probably the scariest moments that I had been in since I started the business. And like I said, my brother's wife, they're calling the police. They're saying we've been missing for 6+ hours and no cell phone service. It was just a complete and utter disaster. And the reason why I tell you that is this. I should have known in that situation, or I learned, that I was no longer the educator. I was being educated by those who understand and know what they're talking about. This guy had driven a truck. He knew. He talked to me. Instead of me being like, okay, maybe I don't know the situation here, and understanding and trying to learn from that, I was arrogant. I was too outgoing. I was too, yes, I can do this, no problem. Watch me and show off, that I didn't listen. 2 different scenarios. 1, I'm the educator. I got to know what I'm talking about. I got to be able to present this well to somebody. Situation number 2, I got to learn how to listen. Those are the 2 key points that we're going to take away from this episode is, when are you the educator and when are you being educated? Whether you're in a business now, whether you're in an everyday social setting now, whether you're raising a family, whether you're starting a new business, is it the time for me to listen to what's being said? Or is it the time for me to educate and to tell people this is what I'm doing and have confidence in what I'm talking about? So in these last 2 incidents, misunderstandings and arrogance, what did we learn from those? In the misunderstandings, if you have something that you've been thinking about and you're wanting to bring up, make sure you know your audience. Is it your family? Is it your friends? Is it another business partner you're talking to? Who is it? Because in that time of describing what you're wanting to do or the idea that you have, you're also convincing yourself in the conversation you have with them. If you present it poorly, your confidence is going to be killed. If you present it in a way that they understand, not only is it going to boost your confidence, but it will boost the confidence of those around you and encouraging you to keep doing what you're doing. Really think about your presentation. And the arrogance side, make sure, like we talked about in episode 1, it's not always the loudest person in the room who's the most confident. It's the person who's willing to listen to the advice of others, especially those who have more experience than we do. Make sure that we're learning from those experiences and we're not letting those experiences totally kill our confidence. So I hope you were able to take something that you heard today and apply it to your everyday life, whether it's starting a new adventure or what you're currently doing, just trying to be better at it. If that's the case, please hit the subscribe button, hit the like button, follow us on social media, and until next time, stay sharp and stay resilient.